Hi, everyone. It's Kate Byers. Sorry, I'm looking around to see if I'm live or not. And I am. We're talking about thriving in chaos this week. It's a great week, obviously, with all of the different world events going on. We have a whole new world order. But that doesn't mean as a high achiever, you've got to put your life on hold. And that's really what's customary for a lot of us. So I thought what we'd tackle today. It's Kate Byers. Sorry, I'm looking around to see if I'm live. Let me put this on mute. Hold on just a second here. Okay. So what we were talking about was, I thought we'd talk about is what it's like to have your kids at home, right? So for a lot of you, I don't know if you're like, we're here in Seattle, we're at ground zero. The schools are closed for 6 weeks, long time. And so now you're trying to keep up with work. Maybe if your spouse or your partner or other people who've normally helped you, they may be home, you've got everyone in your house. And if you're like us, you may have canceled a lot of your external help. So maybe you always had a sitter, or you had a housekeeper, or someone, a neighbor, or someone was helping you. You might have canceled that temporarily while we're all under this COVID-19, trying to slow that down. So what do you do, right? Because the work doesn't stop. And a lot of us are in professions where you're actually on the front lines. Okay. So one of the things that's really important to understand, and we teach clients this all the time, which is that you have to understand that the kids are home, they've got their needs that need to be met. You've got your needs that need to be met. And as a high achiever, you're going to have this grandiose vision, typically, of what you want that to look like. This is going to be this wonderful moment where we're Pinteresting, we've got Martha Stewart moments, or whatever you want to call it. And somehow we're going to get all this work done and, cook a homemade meal. It's like, that's the first rule that every high achiever goes to is, how can I do even more now that I'm home? Because what you're trying to do in many cases is recoup on family time, right? Like, it's kind of neat that we're all home because usually we're all off to the four winds and the kids go to school or to daycare. We go off to our careers and we're trying to find this time to spend together. Well, now you're together all day long. Yum. But that doesn't mean it's going to be as easy as we'd hoped it was. So the first thing that I always suggest is reset that expectation a bit. And it sounds kind of obvious, but seriously, reset the expectation. Okay. We're not going to be doing fabulous Pinterest parties all day long and, building Lego towers and scrapbooking on top of keeping up with our workload, on top of making the most nutritional meal that you possibly could in the evening and all these things. So, let's make this more like, I don't know, like a camp out. Okay, how are we going to do this? How are we all going to really resource ourselves and our family for this time period where we can do less? We're stuck in the house. We can't go out and get some of the things we want. I know here in Seattle, a lot of the restaurants have been closed. A lot of the businesses are closing down. So we can't even go, get some of the things that would make our life easier. We're cooking more, all that, right? We ask our housekeeper, please don't come over this month. We're obviously still paying you, but we're just trying to minimize contact. And those are the types of things that normally, can help you have ease in your life when you can order a pizza or something. But now the pizza guy's not even delivering. It's like, geez. So the first thing is just to restructure and rethink about, like I said yesterday, what does success look like at work? Well, what does success look like at home? Right. And just really sitting down with the family and saying, okay, what are we doing, kids? Because we can't just sit and watch YouTube videos all day long. Right. So the other thing is to recognize that kids have a different level of patience and ability to meet their needs. And so they're really going to need us to help them meet their needs, especially if you have younger children. When my boys, I have two boys who are 9 and 11, but when they were quite small, what I would do is I would actually get up a few minutes before them in the morning and I would prep something for them to do right when they got up. Now, what I like to do is go outside, especially when kids are small, because I love to get fresh air. I love to wear them out a little bit. But the point is that kids really have a strong need for creativity and connection first thing in the morning. And a lot of times as parents, what we do is, I'll be right there with you. Oh, let me finish this email. Oh, I got to take a call. That is really hard for kids. They don't have, first of all, they don't understand the time continuum that we do. They don't know what 15 minutes looks like. I mean, I have a 12-year-old who can't tell you what 15 minutes actually feels like. He's like, are you done yet? So what I always suggest is putting time into your kiddos right away and starting your day later if you can, or getting up in the morning, getting a couple things out of the way before they wake up. And then really giving yourself and your kids a solid period of time, whether that's 45 minutes or 3 hours, whatever you're going to do, make that a solid, intentional, we are connecting I'm full on with you in this period of time. I'm not distracted. And if you do that, what happens is then children are better off able, even very small children, to play on their own. But you will also get your need met for parenting. Because there's nothing great that feels about putting your kids off all day and kind of doing what I call sloppy parenting. Okay, they watched Barney the dinosaur all day. They were on their YouTube videos all day. I checked in on them, but I really should have. I could have. I would have. Oh, I wish I'd been, a better parent in this situation. Sloppy parenting is just sloppy parenting. It doesn't make you feel good. And then at the end of the day comes, you're tired, you're exhausted, and now you want to have this wonderful parenting experience, and you can't because you got nothing left. So if the kids are underfoot and you have meetings and things, like set aside some time in the morning, really structure it to where they're getting your full attention. It could be fabulous, fun pillow fight at breakfast. It could be taking your breakfast on the road and everybody goes off for a walk. You know what I mean? But like get everybody connected and going. And then what you can do is after you've had that period of time, say, okay, now that we've done this, I need you to, older child, go read a book, work on Khan Academy if they're doing some schoolwork or whatever you have them do. Now you don't feel bad about saying, hey, go game. I'm fine with you going watching an hour of, videos with your friends or whatever they're going to do, because you've really spent some strong time connecting and building purpose. It's when we're distracted and we're trying to do two things at once. We're trying to parent and we're trying to, go be on a conference call, or we're telling our children to wait. Our children have been waiting. Our children spend their lifetime waiting for us. Put that time into them and then give them something that they need to go do, craft project, the book, the Khan Academy, whatever it is. And then you can come back and regroup for lunch, even if it's just for 15 minutes or 30 minutes. Great. Now we're all regrouping at lunch, and be very intentional about meeting that need. Because again, what makes you feel icky, it's not so much the kids, it's what makes you feel icky is when you commit to doing something and then you don't do it. So I tell my kiddos, I'm coming out there and we're going to go do XYZ at this time. They don't even always know what that time is, but I make sure that I do it. Okay. Now, if you get caught on your back foot, you had every intention of showing up for lunch at noon and you were going to make the PBJ sandwiches and serve the cute little cookies, right? And a conference call goes long or an emergency comes up. You also want to prep your kids and your family and say, look, this is my intention. This is what I'm trying to do. This is what, I am anticipating that you're going to play on your own. When you say you're going to play on your own, I'm going to work when I say I work, and we're all going to get together when we say that. Like, we are going to honor each other's commitments, because that's how we meet our needs. However, if for some reason I get caught, on a call, what I will do is I will wrap it up as quickly as possible. And then here's plan B. I won't be able to make you the PBJs, but I do have, whatever. You know what it is. Like, here's some snack food you can grab on your own until mom can come out. So make sure they understand that your intention is still to be there, because a lot of times what happens is we feel guilty when that happens. And then we get guilty and we just avoid the uncomfortable conversation, which is, mom messed up. I'm sorry. I got caught on my back leg and, now I wasn't able to show up for lunch like I told you would. So having open connection and open, honest conversations with your kids about your intention, that's a really beautiful way to help them meet their needs. Now they know what's going on. They know that they're the priority. They know what you're committing to. They know what your expectations are, but they also have expectations of you, and you're role modeling what that looks like to show up and meet those expectations and be honest if you fall short, because that's what we would hope our kids would do, right? Now, if the kids are not getting off their electronics, so they're not doing what they're doing, that's a great chance to regroup and say, hey, regroup at the table. I'm confused. We had an agreement that, whatever, we would play together in the morning. Then you guys could have some free time to game, and then you're going to do your math. And I'm seeing that you're still gaming and you never did your math, or you never walked the dog or did the dishes or whatever it was that you asked them to do. This doesn't work for me. This is a new world order. This is the chapter that we're in right now. We all have to pull together. You guys don't want me, working all day and unable to provide any attention, food, activities for you. I need you to still show up and do the things you need to do. And even if they're little kids, you can still hold kids accountable to their agreements. You're going to give them a little fudge, what do I want to say? Like, you're going to give them a little bit buffer when they're little kids, because little kids will say, yeah, I'll do that in 15 minutes. And they don't know what 15 minutes is. But again, we want to all honor our commitments. And I think that's another thing that we forget, because we don't understand needs. And this is why it's so critical to understand human needs, because when you understand your human needs, now you know what need isn't getting met. So for example, Like if my boys tell me, yeah, like one of my children is supposed to take the recyclables out and the other one takes the dog out. Okay. So they've already agreed that they're going to do it at a certain time of day. They rarely do it on time because they don't watch a clock like I do. Like you and I, we as adults live according to a clock. Our children don't. So obviously there's different things you could do. You know, if they've got iPads and smartphones, you can have them set a timer. But I don't want to be the person constantly reminding them. That drives me a little nuts because now it's still in my brain pan. So, you know, what we do is we just kind of let our boys, because they're old enough, they're 9 and 11, like this is your responsibility. And if it doesn't get done, what I will often do is they'll come and say like, oh, mom, can you, I don't know, can you make me a snack or something? I don't know, whatever it is. And I'll be like, oh gosh, I would love to. But you know what? I just really have no time because I got to take the dog out and now I got to take the recyclables out. So I'm sorry, I don't have time to make you a snack. So they're like, well, wait a minute. Oh, I'll go take the dog out. Oh, are you sure? Okay, just checking. Like, I don't nag at them. I'm not going to like tell them again and again and again to do something and wear myself out and get furious and use all my willpower on reminding my children to live up to their commitments. I'm just going to be less available to them for things that they want. And I don't do it in a tit for tat way and I don't do it to be nasty. But again, it just helps them understand that that's how it works in the adult world, right? I mean, if you and I worked together and we were both in a conference together and I told you I was going to show up for a conference and over again, I never showed up on time for the conferences that you scheduled with me. After a while, what would happen? You'd either stop inviting me to the conference or when I came up to you and I said, oh, could you help me with, I don't know, this project? You'd be like, no, I'm not. You would be far less likely to help me get my needs met, right? I mean, that's because we're a community. People are, we were born and bred to work in communities and be community-based creatures. So that's just sort of the simple facts of life. And when you can help your children see that and feel that, it helps you from getting like irate and crazy and losing all your willpower and things like that. And it just helps you have a more harmonious experience when you're under the roof all day long together on top of each other, still trying to get your work done, schoolwork done, the house not completely destroyed and all those other things. So again, so keep in mind that your kids also have needs. That would be the third point. We all have the same 7 needs, but your kids are going to have different strategies. Like my strategy for leisure is like walking my dog and getting fresh air. My kids are like watching YouTube videos mindlessly. I'm not really wild about their strategy, and I think there's some good science behind that. But that doesn't mean that they don't get to do it at all. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I need to honor the fact that their mind is good. They can make their own choices, but there still needs to be a time limit and they have to self-regulate. And if they can do that, then I'm all for it, right? And so making sure that there is compromise on both sides of the fence, because the actions that I will use to get my needs met are going to be different than a lot of times what I think my kids should do, but allowing them to make their own decisions and then just holding them accountable to the aftermath. For example, my older son loves sugar. If he eats a lot of sugar, eventually he gets a stomach ache. Now, does that mean I just let him eat sugar all day long and get tons of stomach aches? No, but occasionally he gets that opportunity to self-serve. And then when he gets a stomach ache, it's just a great opportunity to sit down with him and say, hey, you know what? This is one of those times when you made a decision for yourself. I'm proud of you for making a decision. It didn't work out great. So why don't you think about an alternate decision? Like how could you treat yourself with sugar without just gorging on it and giving yourself a stomach ache? It's a great example of how you can allow your children to learn a little bit from their own actions. Or like I was saying earlier, if they're not helping out with the recyclables and taking the dog out, giving them that opportunity to say, hey, look, I'm confused. You know, you're wanting me to show up and mom the way you need me to mom, like make the snacks or buy you the extra Lego set so you have something to do this week while you're home from school, or, you know, invite your friends over or whatever is going on. Like their expectations of you are that you got to show up. Then your expectations of them is they have to show up. And that's a very honest conversation you can have with them. Just recognize that some of the ways they're going to meet their needs are different than yours. And as long as it's not hugely infringing on the family's needs and the family's well-being, you know, now is a great time to give them some leeway and to consider making some more of their own decisions and see where they end up, and just having that open communication. It's actually a really effective way, because I don't know about you, but I would certainly like my kids to learn some of these lessons about making their own decisions now before they're faced with those out in the real world, and they don't have mom there to autocorrect. The more we correct our children, the more they lack belief in themselves. So I like to give my kids the opportunity. But it also is just a great way for you to feel free that you can be in your office working, and that if they're doing some things that makes a huge mess, That may not be your way of doing it. I don't like when my kids get out 16 different games and then there's a huge mess. But if that's the decision they've made, then great. They're the ones that actually get to clean it up too. As long as you're not going out there and exploding on them, how could you have made such a big mess? Hey, no sweat. But now it's time to clean up because I also have needs and I get to live in a home that's not completely destroyed. I'm okay with a little bit of mess, but it can't be like, mountains of destruction. So play with that this week with your kids. And I think you'll find that you guys can swim in this new wading pool we've all been put into without much choice, and recognize that we have a lot more control over our environment right now, and we really can continue to kill it at work and get things done. Obviously, yesterday I gave you guys some tips on how to create success in the new world order at work. I think tomorrow what we'll talk about is a little bit about boundaries and also leading your team, because I'm sure your team, if you're a leader, they're scared. They've got a lot of needs that need to be met and things that are going on. How do you manage that without overextending yourself? So that'll be tomorrow's topic. So tune in this week. We're having a lot of fun with these live videos. I hope they're helpful to you. And if they are, pass them along, share them with someone else, and leave a comment if you have a question. We're happy to come back and I'll jump in and offer what I can. All right. Thanks. You guys have a great day.